Hello everybody. Some of you may have seen me in the classroom. I'm Mr. Geis. I'm the student teacher this year. Mr. Kramer has been kind enough to let me follow him in the classroom and learn from him, and my plan is to become my own art teacher. So yes, I'm creating my first video here to show you how we're going to do this clay shoe project. It looks really fun. Now this is something Mr. Kramer's done in this classroom before, so we're gonna do this here. So I got my clay here, and so there's a lot of different ways that we could do this. We could do a pinch pot, or we could use the coil method, or we could use slabs, but we're gonna use the coil method and the slab. To do this shoe, your first instinct might be to just take the clay and hollow it out. Well, that might lead to some problems because the walls might be too thick and that could cause it to explode in the kiln. And we don't want that to happen, and it might take too long for it to air out too. So I think the best way to do this is just create a slab and then coil the walls on top of that. So the first thing we're going to do is take our clay, put it on the table like so. Then we're going to take our rolling pin here, our PVC pipe that we got here, and we're going to slowly roll this out. I'm going to try to do a thin, even layer, like so. And you're going to get a little clay on the pipe here. That's okay. Just pick some of that off. Try to get this as even as we can. We don't need it to be too thick. Now this is actually going to be the base of our structure. This is going to be the sole of our shoe, which is the bottom of the shoe. And again, we don't want that to be too thick because, oops. Yeah, we don't want that to be too thick because we don't want it to explode in the kiln. Anyway, that's not perfect, but it's good enough for our purposes here. Okay. Now our shoe, the length of our shoe is going to be 6 to 8 inches. So we are going to measure that. All right, so we're going to look here. So I'm gonna take my ruler here. Everybody's going to have a ruler. And that's about, I'll just do 7 inches there. Okay, so you can use a pencil or anything like that to do that. Next, we're going to draw the sole of our shoe. Take a look at your shoe. Notice how it's got kind of a bean shape to it. We're gonna, like a peanut shape to it. So that's what we're gonna try to do. We're gonna imitate that. So I'm gonna cut it out right here. Kind of curve in for the arch. All right. Once that looks good, you can go ahead and start cutting it out. Make sure everybody can actually see my slab here. Okay, let's take that out, set that to the side. Now we're still going to need our slab here. So here's my sole. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of do a modified coil here. So we're going to want to cut nice and even strips out of our clay. Nice little even strips. All right, there you go. Another one like this. Now, in the coil process, you usually have it coiled up, and I think the reason they do that is because they are keeping the coils even. The length of it's going to be even the whole way down. But this is modified. It's just going to be like not a square, but you know what I'm saying. And now we're going to build this up like an actual log, like we're going to build it like a log cabin. We're going to build the walls. So right there. I'm going to do another one right here. As you can see, it wasn't long enough, so I'm going to add another piece right there. Now, an important thing that we need to do or remember is whenever we add clay to another piece, we need to add slip. Now, to do that, we need to create little hash marks on the area where we are going to apply the clay. So I'm just going to hash it up real quick. This is just for purposes of showing you how to do this, so I'm not going to work too hard at this, but just nick it up like that. Little cross marks like you're cross hatching. And then you're going to do the same thing to your coil here. Just scratch it up. You want to make it as jagged as you can. You want it to really adhere to the clay. Now, if you don't do this and you leave the clay overnight and it dries, you're going to see a little indent where the two clay doesn't come together. And no matter how much you try to fix that, it might not go away. And that's just something that happens when the clay dries. So it's very important we do this. So you're going to apply the slip right down here where you made those hash marks. You're going to apply some water, okay, which we call slip, which is just basically it's a little bit of clay and water that's mixed up. Kind of acts as a bonding agent. It acts as glue. So right there. We'll add it to this. Anyway, let's just pretend I did the whole thing down the line, and you apply it to your shoe. Bam. Okay, so we'll just keep doing that. Keep building up. We'll pretend that I did some more slip on there. Now remember, you don't want these to be too thick because, you know, when we put it in that kiln, if it's too thick, we might run into problems. Okay, so we just keep doing that to build up the walls. But here's one thing you might notice. If we keep doing that, it's going to end up looking maybe like a bathtub or something, right? We know a shoe doesn't look at that. Let's examine our own shoes. Everybody, don't take them off. It's okay. You can keep wearing your shoes. But take a look at your shoe. You'll notice that the toes are lower than the heel. And from your ankle down to about your toes, where you have your tongue in your shoe, you'll notice that there's a slope right there. So we have height variances. We need to adjust for that. So the way to do that is instead of keep building straight up on our shoe, we're going to go in just a tad. We're going to move the clay in just a tad. And when we do that, it's going to kind of start resembling the shape of a shoe. I completely acknowledge that this one's kind of ugly, but I'm doing it really quick just to give you an idea how to do this. Now, at the front of your shoe, we can use our handy dandy sculpting tool to kind of carve down to the toes so that the heel is a little bit higher. And we can keep building up that heel. Now look at that. I mean, it's not beautiful, but I did this fairly quickly. I'm not encouraging you to blow through this by any means. You need to really take your time and work at this because we want it to look beautiful. We want us to be very proud of what we've done. Okay, so that's starting to get a shoe shape right there. So we just keep building that, and then eventually you'll end up, with the top of your shoe. So that's the basic structure of our shoe. Of course you want to add details. there's certain criteria that we're getting graded on for this. Let me pull that up real quick. Bear with me. So, like I said, the length of the shoe needs to be 6 inches by 8 inches, and the height needs to be 8 inches. Part of the grade is the complexity and how much effort you put into it, the craftsmanship, the 3D qualities, and then we're also going to be grading on the glazing of it. Okay, so you're going to want to add some details, make it fun. On the canvas, you'll be able to see some links of examples of other shoes, so you get some ideas for what you want to do. Of course, before we do this or even start working on our clay, you're going to want to have had your sketch done so that you have a three-dimensional, so you have a two-dimensional idea of how you're going to do this three-dimensionally. It's always best to start with a plan. Okay, so one other thing I did want to point out. Let's pretend that we're just back to our base, and we're just have the sole of our shoe here. There are some people that, maybe you want a stiletto and a high heel on your shoe. That's fine. Just bear in mind that sometimes it's a little bit difficult making sure that stiletto doesn't break when you're making your shoe, because it can dry and when it dries it can become a little brittle. So what you might want to do is create like an armature. And how you can do that is maybe you can crumple up some paper. I don't really have any paper on me right now, but what you can do, we'll just pretend this clay ball is paper, okay? We're going to create what you call an armature, and it's a structure that's going to help us keep the shape of our clay. So when you have a wadded up piece of paper, when the sole starts to dip down and it looks funny and you're like, Mr. Geist, this doesn't look right. Well, fix that by putting a little bit of paper under there, and it'll reinforce the bottom of the shoe, and then you can start building your walls. But take note, if you're going to have a stiletto or a big heel like that, you're going to want to do that before you actually start building the structure of your shoe. So, if you have any questions, please let us know, and we'll be happy to help you. And I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this. I even had fun showing you how to do it. So good luck to everybody, and have a great day.